as I mentioned, this is an animated anthology series, which I guess can technically be classified as a follow up to Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, which came out
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago. That was actually an anthology series that we talked about. If you don't really know about this is basically sort of a new project from Lucasfilm that they've been sort of taking part in, creating and crafting these short stories around particular characters within the Star Wars universe in animated form. If you've ever watched the Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels, it's a lot of that same animation style. Dave Filoni, of course, who created both of those series, is also the creator of these series, and he's obviously moved on as well to do live action with The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and he's going to be directing the Mandalorian movie. So I mean, his handprints are just everywhere from Lucasfilm and Star Wars projects. But Tales of the Empire, this is definitely a follow up to Tales of the Jedi, and so it's obviously switching perspectives and telling stories that are more focused from the perspective of the Empire and potentially Sith Lords, sort of the bad guys of the Star Wars universe, as opposed to what we saw a couple of years ago with Tales of the Jedi, which is something I know we both particularly enjoyed, just the entries and the stories that they told there. But with all of that said, man, I'll pass it over to you. What do you think about what you've seen out of Star Wars Tales of the Empire?
So, Tales of the Empire is fine. It's just fine. It's not as good, I think, as Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi, when watching it, I feel like it had a lot more, I think, reveals and things that were interesting that we wanted to see, and characters that we wanted to follow. In this Tales of the Empire, it really follows two people in particular. It follows Morgan Elsbeth, and it follows, what's her name, Barris, I think is her name. And Morgan Elsbeth she's one of those characters that again, we just seen her. I think she was just in Mandalorian / Ahsoka, right? And I think, to be honest, it was just like, am I that interested in her? Not that, like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, this character, I mean, she's cool as a character, and I think even going through the story and Tales of the Empire, it was just fine. It was just like nothing really excited me, that we were getting. And to be honest, these are also characters that are just pretty new. Like both Elsbeth and Barris are like, I mean, Barris came from Rebels, but you know what I'm saying? These are like characters that, like, I'm not sure I was that interested in seeing some of their backstory anyway. And if I wasn't, I'm not sure this Tales of the Empire did a good job of making me interested in their stories. And so overall, man, it was fine. I will say it does look better. They definitely upped some stuff. I don't know if they moved engines or something. Like, everything is definitely starting to look really good in 2024. So I will give it that. It looks good. There's also a couple of decent fight sequences that are in here. You can still tell all of this is Dave Filoni. You know what I'm saying? All of that's fine, but at the end of it, I was just like, that was okay. And I'm glad it's as short as it is, though, too. It's like, yeah, I'm not super mad I watched it, but also it could have been better. It could have been more. It could have, Tales of the Jedi, I just felt like more, and Tales of the Empire just fell short. And I think, again, it could be because of the characters they chose. So yeah, man, that's it.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton to add because I mostly agree with you. I think that Tales of the Empire is a fine entry, but certainly a step down from Tales of the Jedi. I think what I enjoyed so much about Tales of the Jedi, and they certainly tried to carry that spirit over into this entry as well, but Tales of the Jedi, a large part of it was conceived to just fill in a little bit more story about characters that didn't get their just due in the movies. And so Count
Mm-hmm.
Dooku was kind of largely the focus of Tales of the Jedi. And some of the stuff that they did there was, I think, really extraordinary. Just the
Yeah.
storytelling and just how much they showcased his transition, from being a former Jedi ultimately to
Mm-hmm.
becoming a Sith Lord and working on behalf of the Emperor and Darth Sidious. I just love to see that turn and also the conflict that existed within him, because the way that he's in the
Yeah.
movies, it's very much like sinister bad guy. Like, there's not much nuance to his character, but in that particular entry, they showcase a lot of nuance, and they try to do the same thing here, with Barris and with Morgan Elsbeth. Like, they try to paint the picture and fill in some of the gaps that we haven't been able to explore, but they just aren't characters that I'm all that interested in. I mean, to be honest, like, Morgan Elsbeth as a character, I haven't really cared about her at all. She was my least favorite
Mm-hmm.
part, probably, of Ahsoka. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the elements of Ahsoka that just didn't connect for me. I mean, I like the Night Sister stuff, like that
Yes, that
stuff
stuff
is
is cool.
cool. It's
Mm-hmm.
dope, and I love how much we're going back to that. But her herself as a character has just never really done it for me. And so the fact that the first 3 episodes was kind of focused on her, it was like, okay, this is kind of already starting out from behind, just for lack of a
Mhm.
better term. The best part of those first 3 episodes for me was probably just seeing General Grievous again.
Agreed.
He's always incredible, and seeing him,
Yeah.
with the lightsabers and how he's, sort of using them is always just like really, really cool. So they do have their moments, they do have good stuff. And then by the time we get to the second three, which does focus on Barris, that was also just kind of really tough because I think in previous iterations of Barris, like she's really portrayed to be evil. There's like
Yeah.
sinister stuff that she does, and here again they
Mhm.
try to complicate her character, and showcase just the shades of gray that exist to her. But it might have been a reach for me, just even
Mhm.
watching this, like the slow redemption, they started to try to carve out for her. I'm like,
Yeah.
she did some really terrible shit.
She's a
It's
whole night sister. Yeah, she's pretty
yeah,
crazy. Or
exactly. And so,
Inquisitor. Yeah.
yeah, right. And so they, Star Wars, I think consistently they have that issue. I mean, from the very beginning with Vader, it's like, do we really need to empathize with Vader? Do we really need to go there? It's
Mhm.
always been, I think, a challenge anytime you have these really, really dark characters that are responsible for, mass genocide in some instances, at worst. But you try to give them a little bit more development, and make them 3 dimensional, which you should. But the redemption, it's a bit challenging, and it feels somewhat like a 180 of where we used to see her, and it's just
Mhm.
kind of a hard thing to adjust to. So yeah, I agree. I think ultimately it's an okay entry. It's fine. I do want to see them hopefully continue this, and take other angles with it, and see what they can craft in maybe future stories. I don't know if it's going to be Tales of the Sith, Tales of the, I don't know, the Ewoks. I don't know what the hell they'll do.
The Ewoks is crazy.
That'll be a reach to try to make 6 stories out of that. But who
Mhm.
knows? The sky is kind of the limit. I do enjoy these
Mhm.
like short form stories that they're
Yeah,
doing, though. I think it's
me
cool.
too.
It's a cool way to just like give a little bit more time to characters that have been underserved. So I like the concept. Keep doing it. Just hopefully tell better stories in the future. But folks, with all of that said, those are all of our thoughts on the brand new anthology series, Star Wars: Tales of the Empire. If you've checked this out on Disney Plus, hit us up and let us know what you think.